All right, we will just, from me, do left to right. So I will start with Ruby. What is one thing you would change about the local drag scene in Raleigh, and why? Once again, my question is, what is one thing you would change in the local drag scene in Raleigh, and why?
Thank you for your question. What I would change in the local drag scene in Raleigh would be inclusivity. There's been a lot of discord online about bookable drag. And as a bearded alt queen, I am here to tell you that all drag is valid. Thank you for your question.
I find myself using drag as an expression and an escape of things in my life. What does drag fulfill for you?
Drag is me returning to myself. For those of you who do not know, I am a music educator and a Wake County public school teacher. I grew up in Eastern North Carolina, where I was extremely conservative, and everything about me was nitpicked and just taken apart. And I stuck with education, but I constantly had to compromise parts of myself. And I feel like moving to Raleigh, being inspired by the performers. I watched Ruby before I even did drag when I first moved here in Raleigh. It inspired me to take back that part of myself where I'm going to embrace my femininity. I'm going to embrace my creativity. And whether or not it makes you uncomfortable, this is who I am. And there's so many various facets of everyone. I don't understand why we have to be this or that. I can be an educator, I can be a public school teacher, I can be a burlesque dancer, I can be a drag artist, I can be a performance artist. And it's this declaration that this is who I am. I am a trans drag performing artist.
Again, how do I go after that? Gosh, my question is for Ruby. Why this competition, and what have you learned from this competition? Again, why this competition, and what have you learned from this competition?
Paris, thank you for your question. The first part, why this competition? In 2 weeks, I will be celebrating 7 years in drag. And in those 7 years, I have only ever competed once. And that was in Legends Drag Race. And for me, as a drag entertainer, I didn't get into drag to be critiqued. And while I absolutely adore the critiques, it fucking terrifies me. And so, it's in fear. They say pressure makes diamonds. And I wanted to put myself in this pressure cooker once again. And that leads me to part 2 of your question. What have I learned? I knew I was competitive. But what I learned was, I am a pussy. And I'm not talking aesthetically. I'm talking about the last 6 weeks has been the most terrifying experience of my life. But I've loved every minute of it. And it has taught me to challenge myself, to push myself, to be a better drag artist. And honestly, the biggest lesson that I have learned is that I fell back in love with drag.
Nice to meet you, baby doll. I'm a big fan now. Thank you so much.
All right now.
As I said earlier, one one of the big catchphrases now in drag is all drag is valid. Tell me briefly why your drag is valid.
I think I present something different to the drag scene. I'm big on performance artistry. I didn't get to showcase everything I would like to during this competition, but I do like to create my own mixes, transpose my own music, sing live, change the lyrics of the songs I'm doing. I try to offer a more musical facet to the drag art form. And I think that is what I've presented and I brought forward to Drag in the Triangle.
Miss Ruby, beautiful. ¿Cómo miras tú el drag en un futuro?
How do you see the future of drag?
How do you see your drag in the future? Where?
And go. Where do you see your drag?
Where do you see your drag in the future?
Where do I see my drag in the future? That's a tough question because when I started drag, it was for very personal reasons. I started as a theater kid. And when that didn't work out, because in the Raleigh scene, masking this effeminacy, there weren't roles for me. And so I channeled my artistry through a persona that I created myself. And it's through that persona that I have found a love for that same feminine energy that didn't get cast in shows. And so, where do I see my drag in the future? I see it on Broadway. I see it on national television. Stay tuned for season 17.
Hello, Franny.
Hey, Mama.
So North Carolina as a state for drag and nightlife entertainment is known for being one of the biggest states to produce legends in the history of this art form. How will you make your legendary mark in the state of North Carolina?
I feel like, to reiterate, I have something different to offer, and I also am very well-versed and educated in drag, so it's not just, it's so much more, and I feel like I have an intellect and a expertise of drag and history and queer artistry that I would like to cement and bring forth and present that on a greater level than just statewide, and I feel like I will eventually represent Wake County in some kind of way as a drag artist on a more national level.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our top two. Thank you, judges, for your questions.